everybody, welcome to Chimera and welcome to the Sunday RPG session. We are playing D&D. We are playing it fast and loose and fun, and we have a whole bunch of scallywags assembled in the city of Edenberg to celebrate this great adventure. Some of you probably know the city of Edenberg already. It's one of the more northern, rugged cities of this fair and mysterious and magical land. Such prominent features include the well-known Republican Mile leading up to the castle in one direction and down to the blighted halls in the other. You may know the famous volcano of Queen Anne's throne, where every night mystics dance to stop the lava from erupting and consuming the city, to keep the old gods slumbering deep. Unfortunately, every year the city of Edenberg is hit by one famous blight, and that is the Eatenberg Festival. Anyone who can leave the city does. They're out, they're gone, and the Edenberg Festival is in full swing as we speak. All the best adventurers have left town, meaning that in this one tavern, the Ferret and Fishcake, in the darkest corner of the city, there is a mere dredge of adventurers left behind, too drunk to go, too many flyers to lift up their rucksack. And thinking of this dreaded pub, let's have a look at some of the people who've ended up in the Ferret and Fishcake in this gloomy corner of Cam's Toll. In one shadowy corner, there is a Tiefling Bard. What does this bard look like, and what is she drinking?
She's quite tall, slender, wiry. She has a forked tail, and she has horns. Sadly, she has no wings. She's drinking a foaming tankard, but that's just for the look of the thing, and being the life and soul of the party, while at the same time eyeing up the purse strings and wallets of everybody in the entire establishment.
She was forced to give her name to authorities. What would that name be?
She would say, "My name is Kimia," and she would avoid all other questions about her antecedents.
In a probably slightly lighter corner, there is a dwarven granny. What's she like? What's she doing? Is she knitting? What's her favourite bar snack?
It's amazing how you knew that she would be knitting, but she is in fact knitting. This dwarven granny is called Mary Berry, but you can call her Berry, and she is sitting in her armour, and she is wearing the cardigan that all grandmothers wear. I think you're probably familiar with it, underneath her armour, and she is also knitting a similar cardigan, because you can never have too many. And she is drinking a cup of tea with whiskey in it, and probably eating a potato sandwich.
Deep fried, I assume.
Of course.
Fantastic. Over by the bar, there is a druid. And the way you can sort of tell he's a druid is it seems to be just this kind of miasma of something, a certain something in the air. Who is this? What are they drinking?
This is Cornelius Pox Mulder. He is a gnome. He is small and grey and wizened and surrounded by an unhealthy-looking cloud of spores that rises off him a bit like dirt from the Charlie Brown character Pigpen. He is drinking basically everything, and he will hold forth to anyone who is willing to listen about the fact that yeast is just a form of fungus and all alcoholic drinks are due to the inevitable process of organic decay. He is a real mushroom bore.
That nearby, but possibly not too by, is a mysterious piratical figure. Who is this, and do they want to listen to a conversation about mushrooms?
No, this is Count Alucard de Nosferatu, and he's really quite unpleasant, to be honest with you. He's a victim of extreme nominative determinism. He never wanted to be a vampire, and he's contemplating how to seize the means of production in this city and get rid of all its aristocracy and the vast amounts of money that can be made through him doing that.
Funnily enough, as he has these surprisingly capitalist yet also
everything stopped.
The door does indeed bang open to the Ferret and Fishcake, and in walks in a number of people who may indeed thick kind of brown heavy cloak, and behind her two people who I think we can only really call thugs. Instead of the usual sword on their hips, they've got belts with hammers and saws and screwdrivers. Kept these tools, And this halfling walks into the middle of the room, pulls out a bag of what looks like quite heavy gold, slams it down on a table and says, right, I've got a bounty and I need adventurers now.
Kimya puts down her tankard and wanders across. Says, "Who do you need killed?"
Situation, it's a hunting down and bringing back here so that we can have a word with him. I am Unlucky Hughes. I am the chief of the Guild of Artificers and Illusionists, and I have a bounty out for Leonardo de Calzoni, actor, dramaturg, auteur, creator, and general bad fella. We need him found, we need him brought back. He has done crimes against the Guild of Artificers and Illusionists, and it will not stand.
Alicant wanders.
Another taker. Good. We need another taker. So, any others? Any other takers? Any other takers this bounty? I'll do half now, half on completion of the job. Just bring him back. Guild of Artificers and Illusions will owe you one. We are a powerful
I
force in
suppose-
the city.
No. You go ahead.
I'll contemplate the size of the bar tab I've already racked up and present myself and my rat.
Berry puts down her knitting and also decides to join for plot reasons.
So the rat does not get a separate share, right? The rat
Alicant
is not a member of the team.
This is Jeremy. He is the brains of the outfit.
Alicant doesn't actually want the money, but his ship is in rather a sorry state, and he's noticed the men look like they can handle a hammer and a screwdriver, and actually he'd take his payment in fixing of his ship, the red flag.
Guilds of Artificial Illusionists can absolutely handle a hammer. This is what they do. During the Edenberg Festival, they provide support to all the big theatres, the Unpleasants, the Udderbelly, the whole shazam. But the thing is, you do have to be a little bit careful, because as Unlucky Hughes explains as you approach, she's like, this Leonardo de Calzoni hired some of my crew. He said, share of the profits. He said, collaborative process. He said, your own bed. He said, won't have to fly her. I want him found and taken down. And yeah, you sinister pirate-looking chap, we could do a deal with you, but you need to understand, mess with us and you're in trouble.
So how much of a bounty are we talking about exactly?
50 gold now. Live, so he can learn how to sweep his own stage, both a metaphor and not a metaphor, if you know what I mean.
I have no idea what you mean, but that sounds fantastic.
Can you point us towards where he was
We
last seen?
I think he's gone underground at the Actors Tavern, the Wounded Pride in Newtown. Sign certain dodgy deals. You know what it's like. You put in for funding, you don't quite get the forms right, and next thing you know, you're signing a deal with, shall we say, sticky clientele. Now, that's none of our affair, sticky clientele or not. We just want him back, but he might be hiding out. He might be down the Wounded Pride, trying to.
He's run away. What is his motivation as an actor? I feel if we know that, if we can speak to his director, that might help us.
He gives you a look that could melt steel. It's like, you want to know his motivation. What next do you want, pirate? You want to know what his inner animal is? You want to know what his inner colour is? Like, I want to hire adventurers to do a job. I don't have time for any of this. Next thing, it's all going to be chewing a little bit of gum. Oh, it's a slightly larger bit of gum. It's going to be zip, zap, zoom all day long. Come on, we've got business to do. Just get out there and find him.
Okay, 50 up front, you said.
You guys all right trusting this tiefling? If you're working together, that's fine. Just, she looks a bit... I'm not being racist or nothing. It's just...
That's it. You're playing.
Can I do an insight check?
Stereotype.
You do an insight check.
All right. So Berry leans forward, squinting, adjusting her glasses. She doesn't wear glasses. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, and I rolled a 1, so she doesn't really notice anything.
Good stuff.
Maybe she does need glasses. Maybe she needs them.
she mostly notices, what she mostly notices. Start the way you intend to go on. It's likely that unlucky use is on the level. Like it's pretty probable. This is a woman who does her business right. Hard to tell though. Like she spent so much time dealing with actors and directors and producers that it's very hard to tell if she has a beating heart in her at all.
Perhaps we should put the 50 gold behind the bar, and the proprietor can keep it.
There is a large hole
I think
behind the bar which will swallow that 50
Yeah.
gold with room to spare. I think we should take it with us.
She gives you 50 gold. This is not a haggling situation. They do things straight in the Illusionists and Artificers Guild. And it's just like, yeah, please go find Leonardo da Calzone, real name, Darren Short. You can never tell with these equity types. Bring him back so we can have words. And if he has signed any deals with any nefarious entities, I don't care. I just need him back here so we can have a conversation. And that's it. Slams down the gold, marches out of that bar.
Okay. Shall we go?
Shall I look after the gold? Because I don't actually want it.
I'll take care of your share.
Yeah, but I'll just hold all of it for now. Because I can be trusted, and the rest of you actually want gold. I'm not that fussed. Says
Berry
Andy
looks
Carr.
at, I mean, I'm not going to do an insight check, but Berry looks at the vampire pirate and thinks perhaps he's not trustworthy, and decides that she will keep her own gold.
To the same conclusion.
Well, I think you're entirely trustworthy. I'll look you up and down, and mostly up. You're welcome to hold my share, and Jeremy's share.
Thank you,
Jeremy's share.
ever so much. I think we've established there's going to be some. Oh, Jeremy.
Amazing. Would you like to head out into the city and see if you can find a missing actor? Amazing. The city of Edenberg, though potentially very nice on the 3 days in which it does have summer, the rest of the year is famously shrouded in not just mist and fog, but this kind of miasmic pallor that just sort of whiffs of decay and rot, and a little bit of sulphur from Queen Anne's Throne as well, a little bit of that volcanic activity kicking in. But once you're used to it, once you know how to follow the signs, it's quite easy to actually navigate the city. You just kind of keep going downhill until you hit the new town and hope for the best. And indeed, the Wounded Pride as a pub is quite famous. They have endless drunken nights, and the noise complaints from the neighbours are relentless. Every night without fail, someone's on the baby grand singing "Memory" or best hits from East Side Story. You can't really miss it. And as you approach, you observe there is actually a little bit of a queue. Actors whose shows were on at the peak time of 2 o'clock in the afternoon are now queuing round the door to try and get in. There is a significantly chunky looking dwarf standing by the door. There's kind of red taped line to get in, ticking off names as people go in. He's checking a list of names against the membership cards that the actors are presenting to get inside this place. There's several floors, kind of lights are shining brightly. You can indeed hear the tinkling of an actor hammering out on the piano, empty doors and empty places. Like it's everything you hoped and dreamed of from an actor's pub.
I'm ready for this. In my many hundreds of years, I was once a quite famous actor known as Benny Lugosi. And I've got my card, and I think I can get all of us in. And the dwarf will accept it, I'm pretty sure. I mean, it is 350 years out of date, but that should be cool.
That's a lot of unpaid dues.
Give it your best shot.
You have to pay dues.
Would you like to try and have this conversation with the dwarf?
Yes, he looks like a lovely chap, and it's such a beautiful day for me. It's exactly my kind of weather. So I'm in a terribly good mood. Let's just go in there. Let's get on the list. I think my opening gambit.
Up to the door.
Yeah, and said,
do you queue or do you just walk straight up?
Walk straight up. Said, Do you know who I
No.
am? Because I think that's the best way. Oh, I'm a bit
Should I?
crestfallen now. Yeah, maybe. How old are you?
Bit personal. Bit personal. 73, but don't look it.
I'll very, very softly give him my card.
Roll a d20 to see whether it disintegrates in his hands. It is 350 years old, so just let's see how this goes. It's a 9, so I don't think it fully disintegrates, but like I think he does this thing where just blows off this little patina of slightly crimson dust, going, looks down and goes, "What is this?"
It's my card from the Actors Guild in admittedly a city that was destroyed 200 years ago by a volcano. But I was very famous. I did 3 plays and had a line in one of them.
And look, he has 2 groupies.
The dwarf
It's
looks
just
up and down, looks up and down the pirate, looks at the groupies, looks at the rat, looks back to the pirate, just goes, "Thing is, being a play 200 years ago, you're one of 2 things. You're either a national treasure or you're nobody. Which one are you?"
I'm sure. I lean over and say, "I'm sure you know what I am, darling."
The gets you somewhere. So for context, I'm going to roll a d20 just on RJ's behalf, because RJ is very kindly playing this the second time his entire life. Hasn't got all the dice, so I'm going to roll a d20 and see if we can charisma persuade this guy that you are a national treasure of the acting world. Let's see how that goes. The good news is you rolled a 17, which, along with your many charismatic skills, might just be enough. Again, the dwarf kind of steps back at the moment, assesses again, and then goes, "Darling, darling, how could I not? I loved your turn in that wonderful thing, that wonderful piece with darling. It's just yeah, wonderful, wonderful, completely transformed instantaneously." And you want to let your flunkies in as well, your groupies? I mean, I know one needs the staff, but yes. Can I wave you in? Is this?
Yes,
He never goes anywhere without us.
That will be lovely.
The dwarf
Mwah.
doesn't bend over to open the door, because that would
air
involve
kisses
lots of
for
heart
everybody.
problems. Oh, mwah, mwah, fabulous, darling! I love what you've done with your face. Opens the door, waves you inside. Inside again is much of what you would have imagined from the exterior. There is someone has cast dancing lights, and as well as casting dancing lights, someone else has clearly artificed some sort of mirror ball. So it is quite disco-y, spinny inside, but in a subdued, we're thinking about our philosophical natures kind of way. There's a long bar at which drinks are extensively flowing. The drinks are essentially rum and coke, but they've been dressed up more than that. And draped across every inch of furniture is the acting elite of Edenberg. No one has actually sat in a chair. It's all legs over the side, arms draped backwards. It's very kind of floppy berry French cigarette vibe. Baby grand, white baby grand in a corner, on which someone is still gently hammering away, doing all your classic numbers. This is the moment, plump, which is a 7-minute song. I shit you not. Anyway, welcome to the bar.
Do we have the first idea what this Leonardo fellow even looks like?
No.
I think we should offer him a part.
Oh.
Pretend we're casting.
I think if you say casting in here, you're likely to get trampled to death.
Should we ask the barman? Barman or barmaid?
Bar creature.
Okay, we'll stroll across to the bar and try to look casual insofar as a group like us can. Has Leonardo been in this evening at all?
is polishing the glass traditionally, looks up, and you wouldn't say you get the impression that this is an actor resting, but this is definitely an actor resting. And just replies going, Leonardo? Yeah, I think I saw him a few days ago. I think I saw him come in. I think he might have a room upstairs. Something about the guild. Yeah, not sure. You're looking for him then?
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
looking for Leonardo.
We think we've got a part that would be
We're big-
perfect for him.
A part.
Big fans.
A
Yeah.
part. Well, tell me about this part. Is it what kind? Have you thought about dynamic casting choices? What kind of part?
Leading man in a sort of heist movie, a heist drama set in a seaport town.
I wrote an article, a blog post on heist movies once. Actually, it's my passion. It's my passion. Heist movies. You say a leading man. I mean, just what?
Well, yeah, we can take your details certainly, but we'd like to talk to Leonardo first because we're going to build the whole thing around him. So could you tell us which room he's in?
Oh, I see.
Well, you see, it's like this. Our casting director is a fiend of very malign persuasion, and we're contractually obliged to offer the role to Leonardo first before we go any further. But if, of course, he doesn't take it, should we, for example, make it manifestly unattractive to him, then you, of course, would be our second person to come to. But we do need to cross him off the list first. This is all said from below the level of the bar with a little hand with a rat waving at him. It may appear that the rat is doing the talking.
If the barkeeper cares about there being a rat in the pub, doesn't seem to. Aeneas is like, oh, I see, another one of your satanic pacts. You get a lot of that at the Edenberg Festival. Yeah, I do understand. I suppose the good thing about your satanic pacts is they do often come with, like, bread and food and sometimes your own couch to sleep on. So, okay, fine. He's upstairs. He's in room 402. He's been there for a few days. We just keep sending drinks up and drinks up and drinks up. This is unusual, but he seems a bit out of himself. Do mention me. Do remind him that we were in that show once. I was the third butler. Just remind him.
What does he drink?
Everything.
Okay, fix us a pint of everything. And a tray,
make that 2 pints of everything, please.
The barkeeper goes along the bar.
And 2 for Leonardo as well.
Finds every glass has just a tiny bit left in it and just starts pouring. Just bit of beer, bit of the wine, bit of just all the nearly drunk glasses into 2 pint glasses and passes them both across the bar.
Can I borrow your dishcloth as well, please?
That's my prop. Why do you need my dishcloth?
As a prop. I'll give it back.
All the things that I need you to roll charisma persuasion on. This is the one. You're taking away a vital bit of character arc here.
Charisma persuasion. Let's see. Actually, I'm pretty good for charisma. I got 19 plus 3, 22. Please, just for 5 minutes.
The dishcloth is removed, folded, passed to you in both hands.
And I pass it to Mary, because I think of the 4 of us, Mary is the most plausible, no offense, most plausible barmaid. So if you'd like to go ahead of us with the tray,
I mean, well,
we can lurk in your wake.
of all of us, I do have the most magnificent bartender attributes, I'm sure. So, Berry takes the dish rag and the mugs of everything and strides very confidently forward and then stops and says, "Where are the stairs?"
Just round the back and to the right.
Excellent.
Is Mary Berry still wearing a battle axe?
Yes.
This? Just so I can really.
Yes, of course she is. Yeah.
Just checking. So convincing as anything, you head up the stairs.
Just say it's the bed warmer.
Upstairs there is a long corridor. There's lots of rooms leading off it. Some of the doors are open through which you can hear impromptu poetry jams happening. Others are closed until numbers on, and you do get the impression that this is indeed where some actors just go for flop houses sometimes, just straight out drunk after a night.
Are the rooms numbered?
Helpfully, yes.
Excellent. Then
Do we know his number?
Berry heads straight towards 402. And does she knock on the door? She kicks open the door and says, "Room service."
There is a chaise longue inside, draped, the most draped a person can humanly be across a chaise longue is a gentleman in kind of his early 50s, little goatee beard. You know when you get the silver hair, you just slick it all the way back, and it's an ozone layer catastrophe happening around the head. And it's just doesn't open his eyes, just goes, "Finally, hair of the dog." That you have found what can only really be Leonardo da Calzone.
I assume everyone else is behind
Okay.
me, right? You're not all back
We-
downstairs
We
having
were
a
heading
drink.
back, but now we all crowd in, I think.
He still hasn't opened his eyes. Like, extends a limp hand. Just bring me my sustenance.
Berry turns
we
around and
gently
says, "Does
push
anybody have
Mary?
some rope?" What? Why are you pushing me?
Just to go in the room. Go give him his drink.
All right, well, Berry stomps into the room with lots of clanging because she is wearing armor, and she places the tankard of everything very heavily down next to him. And then, well, I think she looks back at you and sort of goes, "Maybe we should tie this man up.
Not a bad idea. Does anybody have any rope
We
or
should have planned
chains?
this before we came, possibly."
I mean, he doesn't seem to
as
be
a-
particularly resisting at this point. It seems rather impolite to just tie him up without first at least introducing ourselves. I mean, if we explain to him the grand actoring opportunity that we have for him, maybe he will just come with us.
Yes,
It's
he
just
does look.
it's going to be a lot easier to get him through that crowd of other actors if he's not actually tied up. We could probably explain it's for some sort of avant-garde show,
Fair.
but they might have
It is
questions.
the Edenberg Festival. I don't think they'll have questions.
we
Berry's
could tell
been
him we
around
have
long enough to know this.
We have
Okay.
a part as a prisoner, and we want to know if he's a good method actor.
That's genius.
And
So
see if
you're
he would chain
relying-
himself up.
You're
I'm
relying on the
a
granny
vampire. I've
dwarf
always got chains.
paladin to lie to the actor. Just to be clear, that's what
that's
we're
a-
doing.
That's a fair point. No, okay. I'm gonna take out one of my hook swords and just give him a
Excellent.
prod to get his attention.
Laertes, why? And finally opens his eyes, sees you lot, and goes, oh, goodness, plebs, yes, sorry. Do you want an autograph? Who are you? What do you want? What are you doing here?
We've come to offer you some work.
I would like an autograph as well, actually.
Culture. But give it here. I'm sure I've got a Sharpie somewhere. Yes. To anyone in particular, or just
To Jeremy, please. He's a big fan.
Bring me something to sign. Bring me something to sign.
I offer Jeremy.
I can sign the rat. Would
Yes,
you like
please.
to sign the rat? Ah, amazing. He's got 5 Sharpies in the pocket. Immediately just starts writing. It's not a short signature. The Leonardo is very flourishing. There's also a little kind of bit before going, just to my number 1 fan. Mwah, it's so good to meet a fellow traveller in the world of culture. Doesn't even care he's signing a rat. Is just so thrilled to see a fan.
So are you between roles at the moment, Mr. de Calzone?
You should ask. I mean, as I'm sure you know, I'm actually starring in my own show that I wrote, directed, produced at the Unpleasants. And it's wonderful. It was incredibly well reviewed by last week's student body journalist newspaper. And it's just, yes. But I am sort of having to take just a little break from it. There's been some slight misunderstandings. Some things were said, and I just having a little bit of a rest. Yes, just to
Well-
recoup the creative juices.
We could offer you a pass. I mean, it's not going to stretch you, but it will give you embarrassing amounts of money. So if you would be open to something like that.
Well, every great auteur does need to think about funding the next projects, as you say it. Yes, I is it in Edenberg, or is it how you would say a long way from the city?
It actually involves the mages of the Holy Wood. So
Oh, it's an on-site production then. It's interesting. And the mages of the Holy Wood would. I do hate to ask, but one does have to every now and then inquire. Would you say that they are skilled in dealing with abyssal matters? Just out of curiosity, just.
they're certainly no strangers to
Fantastic.
bargains.
Marvelous. Sign me up. Let's go. Off we go. Fantastic. Brilliant. First coach out of wavering.
Yes, I've heard it said they're the absolute pits. I'm sure that's what that means.
Hellish pigs? Because I'm sure it'll be fine. So as long as we can just get out of the city really very quickly, I'm sure everything will be. Yes, marvelous. Let's go as far away from here as we possibly can, as quickly as we possibly can.
Out of curiosity, for no reason at all, have you made a abyssal bargain of some description recently?
Embarrassing. I may have made a little boo-boo with my funding application. And, well, what can I say? She seemed perfectly nice, but, well, the contract just keeps sort of oozing. And, can't help but notice that every time I perform the play, there seems to be a little rip in space-time that sort of opens a little wider. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out what has to be the summary page of a very long contract. And it looks fine, like all the words are in place, we will fund this project in a rehearsal period of 5 days, and, we will budget 3 gold pieces towards the set build and paying for your crew and all of that jazz. But you cannot help but notice that when he said it was oozing, it is actually quite literally sort of leaking. The paper itself seems to be sweating a slight yellow goo, sort of drops and hisses onto the floor. It's a bit like, yes, it's been doing this for a while. I did try to get some of my people to look at it. I asked props what they could make of it, and they seemed, well, they were less than helpful, actually. Props people are supposed to be yes people, but they just... Anyway. So out of town, you said?
So...
Yes. Although we do have to make a stop on the way.
Pick up the rest of the... We need to pick up the rest of the cast.
Exactly.
Of the supporting players. Wonderful.
While this conversation is going on, could Berry please use divine sense on the contract?
Yeah, go for it. Tell me about divine sense.
So it's next to me in the handbook, and I'm going to pick it up really awkwardly. The presence of strong evil registers on your sense like a noxious odour, and powerful good rings like heavenly music in your ears, yada yada yada. Until the end of your next turn, you know the location of any celestial, fiend, or undead. You also know the type of thing you're dealing with, e.g. celestial, fiend, or undead. This also applies to places or objects.
Amazing. Yes. As you reach your celestial paladin powers forth, 2 things happen. Firstly, the contract in front of you. It hella stinky. Oof, there is a skunk has rubbed themselves all over this thing. It be bad. First thing that happens. Second thing that happens is from downstairs, you hear a primal scream of terror. A voice just goes, "Not my face!" Followed by many more screams and the sound of rampaging feet and general kerfuffle and furore. And your divine powers, in fact, do pick up that a great deal of evil is currently being unleashed in the halls below you.
Is there a window in the room?
There is a window in the room.
Shall we leave the room by the window?
Unfortunately, I'm a paladin with an oath of vengeance, so I have to deal with the greater evil when it's present. So I want to turn back the other way. You can't leave a little old granny
Can
on her own
can
to
we
deal
use
with
the
this.
chains that we have? I was thinking we might tie you up and take you with us.
What,
Do
me?
you-
Or are you referring to your little granny friend?
I think that would be a
Our little
mistake.
granny friend, because we.
I'm not.
Okay,
I'm not
okay,
sure that
I'll
our
go with the
combined
majority
powers would be
decision.
sufficient for that. I mean, I'm just under 3 foot tall, so the window is a very long drop from the 4th floor of this building. So I'm going down the stairs.
Okay, well,
I'm backing up Berry.
you will help me
Let's see
enact my
what-
oath of vengeance. Thank you.
can we just take a look out, see what's coming up the stairs, if anything is?
Ease the door back. The sounds of screaming and running feet below continue. The baby grand has stopped that kind of discordant twang. You can hear again the sound of primal despair. And as you ease your head around the corner, you sort of see, if you imagine the bend in the stairs, light is shining up from dancing lights from the mirror ball below as the music falls silence. You sort of see this shadow of a wing spread itself across the wall, followed by whatever the abyssal equivalent is of something going "Brack!"
Oh,
this
it's
is-
a demon chicken.
Bad. And Mary Berry's spell has already given me a headache, so I'm going to hang back and take some painkillers while the others go down and see more about this.
You're gonna let a little old granny go fight an abyssal demon on her own? Shameful behaviour.
I
You were not raised
Well,
right.
I am a pirate.
wouldn't have any problem with
That is a
that
fair
either.
point.
But presumably they're coming for Leonardo, and we need to have him intact, otherwise we don't get our 50 gold. So unfortunately, we will have to face this thing. But Mary can go first. I got no
Mary is
problem
fine
with
with going first. So she stomps towards the stairs.
Amazing. I'm going to divide this in two for now until told otherwise. So there's team going down the stairs, and then there's team hanging back a bit like, ooh, not sure about this. So let's go going down the stairs first. As you descend, you enter a scene of carnage below. Gone are the rums and cokes. Gone are people draped over the chair discussing how their vision for the next project is really to actually embrace some inner part of their narrative and find the child that wishes to speak within. And instead, there is a scene of carnage. Most actors who can flee have fled, but there are bodies on the floor and all around kind of signs of a fight. There are also, just still picking at those survivors left, what can only be described as Abyssal Chickens. They are exactly what they sound like on the cover. They are chicken-sized. There's about 4 of them still left, and they are just hopping round the room. They have taloned feet. They have beaks that sort of extend into endless teeth. So the beaks are kind of part of their face, just stretching down with teeth sticking everywhere. And their wings are leathery and blood-soaked. And they're just hopping around, pecking at the faces of anything still alive.
Well, this is unnatural. Stand back. Before Berry gets stuck in, can I open up with a salvo of fairy fire?
Absolutely can. Tell me about
So
fairy fire.
Will cast a great veil of spores forth across the room, which will bathe everything from a few inches past Berry's toes onwards in an unpleasant undersea-looking fungal glow, which will give advantage on any attacks against them if they fail a dexterity save.
Amazing. Is that against your spell save DC?
It is, wherever that is. I can't remember where I even put it on this character sheet. Spell save DC is only 12, because I'm not the wisest druid in the world,
Amazing.
unfortunately.
I think given that, I think they'll probably notice fungal spores. Can I just get anyone who has gone downstairs to roll me initiative, please? While they're doing that,
Oh,
Count,
dear.
you have stayed upstairs, but I feel what you need to know right now is that Leonardo Calzone has turned to you and gone, it's such a hard life being a performer. It's just the road, the pain. You just never know. Are you being valued? Are you being respected? Does what you do even matter? And it's just that's going to keep happening to you the longer you stay upstairs, which may be fine for you. You were a famous actor. Downstairs, how did everyone do?
11.
4.
Kim, you got 10,
Cool.
but small got 17.
Oh wow!
But she's probably going to fall back and be with Kimia.
And they did. Oh, they also did quite badly. What is the room? Is that cool? As a fungal mist of fairy fire descends, what is Small we're going to do first? Who is Small?
Yes, at this point, Kimia opens up her jacket and a tiny version of Kimia, but with wings, with little bat wings, leaps out onto her shoulder. This is actually a form of imp called a tieflet. They are the sort of descendants of the house pets of great mages of ages past who consorted with infernal demons, and some of the black magic rubbed off on them. She's pretty pathetic, really, but she doesn't know that. She thinks she's amazing.
Incredible. What would she like to do?
She's gonna wait for what Kimmy is gonna do, because they have a little double act that they use at times like this.
Mary Berry, there are 4 Abyssal Chickens. They have turned as one as the spores fallen and fixed you with a stare as though to go.
I feel like I should use a spell, but I don't want to, so I'm going to use my knitting needles. So because they're fun. So Berry reaches into her armor and, in a very cool way, pulls out 2 knitting needles like they're 2 great swords, but they're knitting needles, and goes to attack. Let's say 2 chickens, and I will roll for that and see if that actually works. So that's
save. That one hasn't. And that one hasn't. You have advantage. They have both flumped their saves.
Well, I rolled a 19, so I think the knitting needles do hit, and it's 1d4 times 2 because I'm using them separately. So that's a 3, and that's a 3, but maybe I'll do a bonus action. And so I will use. Don't want to take too long reading this. Divine Smite. Can I use that with weapons? No, I'm just going to deal with what I did. They're only chickens.
Only chickens. You impale 1 chicken on this knitting needle, 1 chicken on this knitting needle. It's the beginning of a chicken kebab. They do manage to kind of worm off, but they leave a bit of wing behind. So if you do want a kebab later, you've got a bit of wing on each needle as they flop off to the ground.
Devil's
I
chicken.
do like eco-friendly cooking.
Kimia reaches into the pouch at her waist, and she brings out a little glass marble, which she hands to Small in the same way as you might give a grape to a pet monkey. Small immediately takes off, and it depends on the disposition of the chickens in the room. I'd like to use the shatter spell. I'd like to throw the shatter spell behind the chickens so that the blast wave doesn't quite reach Mary, who's in the front of our action.
I think you're going to probably get all of them, because it's quite a small, tight space. You know what these pubs are like. There's a lot of body odour that gets shared in these places. Tell me about Shatter.
Shatter is a powerful kinetic spell. Kimia loves it because it makes things blow up. It does 3d8 thunder damage to anything that it touches. Half of that on a saving throw. So it's great. It just causes maximum mayhem for minimal expended energy.
Is your spell save DC?
My spell save DC is 14.
Cool. Let's see if they managed to save. One of them did.
No.
That one did not. That one did not. That one did. Okay. 2 of the chickens are. Well, they're not fine. They're about to take half damage. And let's face it, half damage with 3d8 will almost certainly kill a chicken. So I don't know why I'm telling you this, actually. I don't know why I bothered to roll the saves. Let's see what happens. Roll your damage.
Just rolled it. So the ones who failed their saving throw take 15 thunder damage. Right in the feathers, right in the tail feathers, and the other 2 take 7.
I am putting my pencil down because there's only one left alive after this. 3 chickens explode. If they had feathers, they would be all over your face. As it is, there's just kind of bits of kebabbed chicken meat just going along with kind of the tattered remnants of the odd actor's corpse that got caught in it. It's not a pretty scene, but it is a very, very effective scene. That leaves 1 chicken alive. I'm going to tell you right now that it is really very badly injured. It sort of hops on one. You know, when you get that slightly sad thing of the pigeon that's kind of lost some of its feet, sort of hops around a bit and is like, ah, ah. It is going to attempt to attack. It's almost certainly going to do no damage because of how injured and poorly and chicken-like it is. But let's see what happens. Mary, what is your armor class?
16.
Okay, it did roll a nat 20.
Oh,
Never
got it
mess
mad.
with an abyssal chicken.
Critical
It's coming
fried
for
chicken.
you. It's going to do 2 attacks. So it's going to go for you with its 1 claw. It's going to hop very ungainly on its injured leg. But the other time it's going. And with the other one, let's see if it does anything with the other attack. Okay, in fairness, with its beak it rolled a 2, so it's only going to get you with the claw. And with the claw, it does 5
Oof.
points of
What?
damage. So it goes, ah!
What on earth did the chicken hit? I'm wearing armor. Did it just like catch me on the face or
The
something?
tragedy about this damage is that while it's
Your
not
shame.
significant, it really hurts emotionally because it manages to get into that crack between the breastplate and the arm and just rips the cardigan at the seam. That knitted dress underneath just punk, and like the fabric just frays a bit. It's not just about the blood. It's about the knitting.
That is a wound to the soul. That truly is.
Never
That
mess
chicken
with
is going to
abyssal
die.
chickens. Well, let's see if that is in fact true. Pox.
I am going to pluck a mushroom from my beard, aim it unsteadily at the chicken, and squeeze it to unleash a shower of venomous poison. Venomous poison? That's a complete tautology. A shower of poison at the chicken. So this is a poison spray.
Yes to this. Technically speaking, as an abyssal chicken, it is a bit like poison, yum, 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 supper, yum, 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 poison for supper. But on the other hand, it's having a really bad day, and you did hit it with fairy fur, which I imagine has softened up quite a bit. And it's still got a bit of wool in its beak. So yeah, tell me
So
about poison
first,
spray.
well, actually, no, I don't need to roll to hit it. It needs a Constitution save versus that same difficulty of 12.
See how it does with its feeble constitution. It just misses.
Well, in that case, I get to use the D12, which doesn't happen very often. That will be criminy 11 points of damage.
Does this chicken die? Blasted backwards. What happens to this unfortunate, now very dead chicken?
Oh, I think it sort of it corrodes and deliquesces into a pool of liquid, which starts sprouting tiny fungi almost
Really?
immediately.
really ruin the ambiance of this place, haven't we?
I feel we've rather added to it.
I feel like we've improved it. Yeah.
You should say that. You are now out of combat, and 2 things happen. Firstly, Count, while all this is happening, you've had a good, another 60 seconds of, one has to question, is it me or is it the audience? Like,
Well,
do I play to them? Or do I have to bring them to me? So that's been going on all the time while this
Yeah,
is
well, we've
happening.
got on to how writers purely hold back actors and should be far more open to interpretation of their script. And we can't help but agree on this. But we've now wandered down into the carnage, and the Count is extremely sad to see that he missed the danger. But he's got a new firm friend who is going to follow him wherever they go, and he's also going to go through the pockets of every corpse in that room to just see if there's anything fun.
Roll a d20 for you to see if there's anything fun.
Oh,
Corpse pockets. Oh, 19. Blimey. We'll come to what you find in the pockets in just 1 second. As you rifle through the pockets of the dead, Leonardo does look at the scene and goes, "Oh, what a shame. So many young, talented performers ripped apart. Oh, no.
Mhm.
Oh, Oh dear. But he does also takes a moment to think, maybe this is a bit of a problem. And he turns to, I think he's going to turn to Mary Berry as clearly the one who is most affected by abyssal things, and just be a bit like, can I have a word? I just have a word.
Berry is currently holding the corpse of her jumper very sadly in her hands. But she rallies and raises her head and says, "Yes, we can talk," and clanks after
It is
him.
that you've got, of course, the jumper in your hands. It's a bit like, I can see you've suffered, as I have suffered. I feel your loss. I actually feel it's quite inspiring. But leaving that aside for now, you seem to know a bit about abyssal things. You seem to be a paladin of a certain, well, wonderfully wizened quality. I love your face. It does seem to me that maybe this contract, the slightly oozy contract, might have been as I said, a slight boo-boo, and I should possibly remedy it. And well, I have actually heard of something. There's said to be a couple of ancient spirits of wisdom up in Grey Nuns who might know how to maybe fix this, because these are, what would you say, these chicken things. I think they might just be the tip of the iceberg, the edge of the stage, the beginning of the curtain call. I think that maybe the producer, I don't see the producer's corpse amongst these. She might still be out there. Maybe
What
would you?
What was the name of the abyssal creature that you made a
She
pact
was
with?
just called the producer. She looked perfectly normal, apart from this kind of slight waxy ooze coming out of her sleeves. She looked like a drow. She seemed fine, apart from the dripping. But one takes what one can get. But
I've, as Berry at one point was the main. So she takes this in the spirit it's intended, and then says, "What did you agree to in your contract?"
it was pretty normal stuff. She paid for my room, my board, the show, the flyers, all the stuff. And I suppose technically for the artisan's illusionist, but that was whatever. And in exchange, I just had to add a few lines at the end of the show. I didn't really understand them.
What were the
Harmless.
lines?
Well, I'd rather say them, because when I do say them, I can't help but notice that dimensional instability, one might say, starts to happen. A little bit of tearing in space and time, and I sort of hear this pounding as of the hellish realms screaming in my ears when I do it. I thought maybe feedback, but actually maybe not.
That was a very foolish pact you entered, wasn't it?
Yes.
Youth today.
Yes, I suppose it might have been. Yes.
Shameful behaviour. What was the name of that place with the spirits that you just mentioned?
Grey Nuns. There are said to be some spirits of epic wisdom and power there who might be able to help. If we could, I'm sure it's on the way to Wavering. We could just go to Grey Nuns, then get out of town and go to the casting and do a show that's not a little bit cursed.
Interesting, right?
I thought they were all cursed.
Has everybody else heard this, or do I have to share this information with all of you? Because you strike me as people who would eavesdrop.
Yeah, I'm definitely listening in all the time.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't our problem, is it? We just have to get him back to the guild and hand him over.
But
Do
if
we really want to help him get away from his curse?
If we return him to, but his curse killed a bunch of people who were not involved with this. And I hate to beat the same drum over and over again, but I am a paladin with an oath of vengeance, and I must go after the greater evil. And it strikes me that the greater evil is, or is that the greater good?
It sounds
Can't
like the
make up my
greater good
mind.
to me.
I've talked myself out of it. Let's let the
I did
actors
suggest
die.
earlier we should tie up the do-gooder.
Who
You
is the
didn't see her
do-gooder?
smite the. You didn't see her smite the
Who
chickens.
Did the barman survive?
Yes, but
Pox.
he's maimed for life.
Oh.
That's another roundup.
Uh-oh.
A trembling hand reaches above the bar, starts scooping up the last drinks. Pours a drag of one, pours a drag of another. This will continue for a while.
We shall honour
I'm
him.
going. I'll do my solemn duty by dusting mushroom spores over all the corpses and wishing everyone involved a reincarnation or a mole or something of that general status.
Amazing.
So do we want to go to Grey Nuns, or do we want to just cash in our other 50 gold? What do we think?
As a
We could
vampire,
get rid.
not a big fan of nuns. Have to just get this down there now.
You are distantly aware that Grey Nuns is in fact a cemetery.
Oh, love that. Let's go.
Berry obviously wants to go to Grey Nuns because she thinks that this is that's her 2 cents, 2 gold coins.
Well, there is such a thing as the natural order. Fiends are not part of it in this part of the cosmos. So yes, I think this does need looking at.
How far is Grey Nuns? Is it out of our way?
It's not that far. You can probably walk there fairly quickly. It is a bit uphill, but everything in Edenberg is uphill.
No
Okay.
matter which way you're going.
I have
cool.
misgivings, but I'll go along with it.
Before you head to Grey Nuns, just a quick update count on what you found in the actor's pockets.
Oh, yes.
You found inordinate quantities of lip balm, quite a lot of cologne, inordinate numbers of sharpies, and ungiven out business cards, and 3 copper pieces.
I'm taking them.
Amazing.
You never know when something might come in useful.
Do you
I'm just
wish to
gonna-
wander? Do you wish to head to Greyfriars?
Yes.
Yes.
Grey Nuns,
Grey
right?
Nuns.
Grey Nuns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a silly slip of the tongue. Can't imagine where that came from. Cool. As you head out into the foggy streets of Edenberg, if it was for the mist to grow even thicker and even more mysterious with a slight chill upon the air, that has in fact happened. Leonardo is now sticking very, very close to you, Mary Berry, which means you're getting an inordinate amount of, I can't perform in haze, of course. It does stuff to one's throat. It's just so when one's voice is one's tool, you're just getting a lot of that as you move through the mist. There are hints of scrabbling noises happening around as well. The streets have definitely cleared out. It is past the witching hour of night. And just to see how this goes, I'm going to get everyone to just roll me a wisdom perception check, just to check on things. RJ, I'm going to roll you a d20. I'm going to drop it.
I have dark vision.
Yes.
So I can see in black and white in utter darkness to a range of 60 feet. Does that help with me?
Helps with your wisdom right now. Also, I think all of you can probably see in the dark quite well. It's probably only Leonardo who's fumbling along, going. It's like the wings. It's like the wings at the assembly halls. It's just ghast. How did everyone do?
11.
10.
14.
I don't know because Claire's rolling for me.
You did. Let's look at you. You don't have any. You did 12. You've all done roughly the same. You've all done fairly averagely, which is good because it means you're not going to be attacked by any more chickens. Yeah, there are ill forces afoot tonight. Some of the mist is moving in a way that seems just a little bit counter to the natural order of stuff. Like the breeze is going east to west, but the mist seems to be moving north to south. There's something a bit odd about that. Some of the scuttling you hear is definitely talent. There's definitely tiny little feet scuttling on ancient stones, and a certain tentacled schlupping is sometimes heard from high above. Like, if the producer knows that you're with Leonardo, then the producer's probably also trying to find you right now. There's definitely ill forces afoot. But thankfully, you find your way fairly easily up the hill to Grey Nuns. Grey Nuns is a famous and ancient cemetery full of some of the most powerful people of the city who've been buried there. Mystics, the ones who kind of dance to keep the gods asleep up in Queen Anne's throne, ancient sorcerers, ancient wizards, the whole shazam. And as you approach, actually, because it is the deepest hour of the night, you can hear two voices sort of talking to each other in the mist, and you see sort of two very faint lights ahead. And the nearer you draw, the more these voices become distinct, and you can actually hear that it's two female voices. They seem to be having a bit of an argument. And I can just hear one going, "Of course it's not a natural fog. I said it's not a natural fog. Said it's not a natural fog, but I'm just saying that we don't need to get overexcited about it. Well, if it's not a natural fog, then it's by definition an unnatural fog. And here I am attempting to hypothesize, and all you're doing is just going, do we need to worry? Of course we need to worry. There's interdimensional forces at play here, and it is unacceptable." These are the voices you can hear in Grey Nuns.
I'm quite at home here because I've spent a lot of time in cemeteries just like this, lamenting how difficult my immortal life is and how nobody actually understands me. Crying, pretending to drink wine. That's kind of what I do in the evenings. So I just want to go and talk to these people because they must be my people if they're in a cemetery. Let's wander over and say hello.
Absolutely.
In the most scary vampiric Nosferatu fashion I can, which is just normal for me. I probably don't realise that.
I'm going to roll this d20 again to see just whether you are doing a charismatic vampire glide or whether you're going to trip over your own feet, because the vampire glide is quite difficult to do. It's like a moonwalk. Let's see how it goes. It was a 10. And you're quite close. Actually, it's a 13. So it's not kind of the effortless floating through the darkness as the mist parts to reveal you. Neither is it that slightly kind of tangled, oh, sorry, tripped on my own tail. It's a piratey walk, shall we say. There's a bit of swagger to it, but it's not over the top cool. And as you approach, the two voices you can actually start to see who's talking. They are definitely incorporeal spirits. They are floating above two of the most spectacular graves in the entire cemetery. One seems kind of slightly more solid and kind of pulsates a slightly inner green light, as seems like to be sort of the spirit of a slightly older woman, shall we say, sort of just shining forth with indignation. And the other is much smaller, almost looks fey, looks almost like a pixie, kind of a hint of ethereal wing billowing behind her. As you approach, you can hear the argument is still going on, and the pixie one just kind of turns to the old one and goes, "Oh, but do we have to always argue? Couldn't we just work together? We're both so knowledgeable and so powerful. Wouldn't it just be nice if once in a while we just got out of the cemetery and maybe saw the world and stopped worrying about who was more right?" Then just turns and goes, "For goodness sake, no, that's just not how this works. We are ancient embodied spirits of knowledge and wisdom. We have to be here when people need our advice." It's like, "Oh, Kearney, but why do we only ever manifest at midnight then? We could be out making friends and seeing people." And this argument's just going to keep continuing until you interrupt. They have no interest in you. When the people have come to them,
Can
they have no
we all
interest
see
in
them
that
at this
over
point? Are we all near enough?
They are shining through the fog.
So Berry just shouts out, "Hello, ladies, we need a hand."
The slightly more pixie one immediately leaps several feet higher into the air and goes, "Oh, visitors! How lovely! Oh, I'm so excited you're here." The slightly older one just goes, "Of course you do. You are willful, ignorant mortals."
Our reputation precedes us.
Yeah.
The pixie hushes goes, "For goodness sake, Kearney, for goodness sake, Kearney. I'll
Can I just put her straight,
hello,
actually? Because
hello, visitors."
I'm not a mortal. And I'm quite upset that you should not realise that.
I could
So I'm not
see
like
he
them.
wasn't a mortal, says Kern.
No
I
offence.
could tell he wasn't
Bit
a
of
mortal.
offence,
It was
actually.
you being all like, "Immortals. He's not mortal. That one smells of mushrooms. Like, for goodness sake, you've already ruined everything." No. It's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's been a long immortality for my friend here, Kern. So I'm a no-no, and this is Kern, and we are ancient repositories of wisdom and knowledge. How can we help you?
Well, this idiot here signed an infernal bargain and is now trying to get out of it because it's causing rifts in reality and letting in things from the dungeon
Like chickens.
dimensions. Like chickens.
Oh, Abyssal Chickens. Oh, that's terrible. Poor thing. I was like, not poor thing. You signed a contract. You live the contract. This is his fault. Just feed him to the abyss. Job's done. What's the problem?
If we kill him, we don't get some money that we need. And also it's wrong.
She says, do you have any idea how minimal your little morality looks after 50,000 years? Do you have any idea how small? At which point Molyneux's just going to interrupt. Go, darling. I entirely understand your little problem here, and if we can help, we would love to. Can I see the contract? Takes the contract. It's like, oh yes, this is your classic abyssal deal, isn't it? You one of your classic say the lines, rend the dimensions, let in the hellish beast. Yes, they are quite difficult to get rid of. I do understand your concern here, but well, if you ignore for a second my illustrious colleagues' dreadful advice about letting everyone die a horrible, horrible death and that way learning their lessons, then what I would recommend is you head up to Queen Anne's throne and try and dunk it in the lava beneath the mountain. That would be my personal suggestion, because I just want you all to be so happy.
Dunk the contract into the lava.
Or dunk
It's
the man.
a classic. Well, I think you should dunk the contract. I think you should dunk the man, says he. Get it done. Just for goodness sake. One's worth the other. And what is a life anyway? Just throw him in. Job's done.
I mean, technically, he's worth 50 gold pieces and the contract isn't. So.
Exactly. Yes, it's an important distinction.
Another little rant ensues from the spirit of Kern, just going, this is the problem with mortals. This is the problem with short-sightedness. When I was alive, I couldn't get the staff either.
Can I just give the one of the two spirits that wanted to go out and make friends one of my many, many lip balms? I think I'll give her a pineapple one.
Oh.
Takes in a little trembling pixie hand, and you don't know if it's possible for a pixie to cry tears of happiness and gratitude, but little sparkles just start to form around her head. She's just like, come and visit again. It's not that I don't like it up here, it's just that I can get quite lonely in the midnight hours without different company. I mean, obviously I love Kern. Of course you love me, but I just, will you come again?
Can Mary Berry promise to say that she will?
Oh, but she wasn't asking me, she was asking you.
Can I promise that Mary Berry will? Because I'm intensely untrustworthy and unlikely to come past this way for another few hundred years.
If he is still in my company, I will make sure he visits on a regular basis.
You, says Mononoro. For goodness sake, you and your pets, your house guests. Tuts Kern. But Mononono takes the lip balm and it vanishes into essence, and you sense you've made one pixie, one very manic pixie, even more manically happy.
Berry
Shall we?
gets out her little notebook and very quickly just puts a little X and a little note saying, take immortal vampire for cemetery visit on the next weekend. So that's a play date put in the calendar.
Count Alicard will sulk the rest of the journey towards the lava about this, but do I have to?
Kimura is experiencing existential terror at this point because she sort of feels that hanging out with Mary Berry is like acquiring a conscience, and not in a good way. So she'd like this to be over with, so she can get back to being evil again.
Just
Being comfortable with incorporeal spirits, they're inherently non-biodegradable.
Well, actually, my friend Kearney here, she's degraded a lot. I have not degraded a lot. You've degraded a lot. No, I got my upgrades. I don't believe you're still talking about your upgrades. The bickering continues.
Considering we're potentially being followed by the producer, which technically I could check, but I'm not going to, we should probably head towards the lava.
Oh, you're being followed by the demons. Actually, oh yes, I suppose he would be, says Mononono. Yes, do be careful. I imagine that they'll probably have divined your intentions anyway by now, and will be closing in. So good luck. And do come back. Do come back alive. It would be so lovely to see you again. No, it wouldn't. It would be so lovely to people to come back and visit. Do good luck. You heading away?
Yeah.
Does anybody want me to divine sense our way through the mist so that we can try and avoid the demons? I have a feeling we won't be able to, but I can certainly attempt to work out where they are, as long as they're in 60 feet of us,
Worth a
so
try.
we can navigate between them.
If you can stand the smell.
Okay. Well, I'm ready. I must have justice for my cardigan. So, Berry uses divine sense, so she can sense any abyssal creatures or anything of that ilk within 60 feet
Amazing.
and where they
As
are.
you head away from the cemetery, you can feel behind you the actually quite nice smelling presence of Mononono and Kern, still bickering away into the infinite void. Going, wouldn't it be lovely to have more visitors? No, it wouldn't. Kearney, baby, it would just be. It's not that I don't like you. It's just don't call me Kearney, baby. It's just kind of vanishing off into the ether as you depart. With your divine sense doing its full overtime, actually going to say it's quite a successful trip through the city. I mean, it's Edenberg. There's a lot of evil everywhere, so it's not just about kind of sensing the truly abyssal things. It's about kind of almost sniffing your way through, going, that's probably just a bit of incest, and oh, that's just probably a bit of hatred over there, and oh dear, that's probably just a iron bruised sorbet. Okay, let's just keep going. But you can. It's real.
No, no, it's not. Surely. Oh,
No, that sounds
seeing the face
delicious.
of
I'm here
evil.
for that.
Yeah, that does sound good.
No,
Actually. Go for it.
no.
I won't make you roll as to whether Mary Berry has to be iron bruised sorbet later. So you sort of sniff your way through the city. In many ways, this is quite a nasal party, actually. Like between Mary Berry's sniffing and Jeremy the rat and Small still sort of drifting through the air, there's an awful lot of inhaling the air to detect your passage. But actually, it's reasonably okay wherever the producer is. It is possible that they've given up the chase and are now merely, I hate to use the words, lying in wait. As you kind of start to approach up the slopes of Queen Anne's Seat, so it seems to be an inactive volcano. It's not an inactive volcano by any means. It is maintained in a state of dormancy by the relentless dancing and singing of the mystics, this sacred order of people with blessed blood who every day and every night go up onto the top of Queen Anne's throne and do their obeisances to the sleeping god. But if you ignore that, it's also a lovely tourist attraction. And as you kind of climb up, you can see sort of a hollow looming at the back of the highest point of the cavern, through which glowing red light emits. And at this point, I would love everyone, please, to make me another wisdom perception check. And count, roll.
All this uphill travel. I told you we should have got an eagle.
Nat 20.
Ooh.
The eagles never show up till the end.
That's true.
I got 9.
10.
9, 10. Yeah, that's all right. Cool. Here is roughly what you see. Kimia, this place feels a bit sacred, doesn't it? Bit better monks here some of the time, being all like holy and stuff. But
That
oh
makes
well,
me itchy.
the things you do for money. Pox, this place feels like there would be more opportunity for life if there wasn't an active lava pit beneath it. But, interesting things can thrive in sulfur. You get some remarkably kind of resilient organisms in the most unexpected places, but it's all you've really got going right now. Count, there's blood around the door. Something has definitely been here. So it's up to you whether the blood smells nice or not, but there's something has got here ahead of you.
Have we I just want to broach something with the group before we go any further. Have we considered the producer might pay us more than that person back in the city for the actor? Just floating that thought. Mostly at Camille.
If we find ourselves face to face with the producer, I definitely think we should throw the actor to and run away rather than fight.
I
Very,
think
very.
that we have to kill the producer because, again, I'm a paladin, and also because in a city of so many actors, it will not be hard for the producer to find somebody else to
Have you
convince to
tried
take
not?
this pact and
Have you tried
continue to
not
open
being a
cycles.
paladin?
And there's a lot less actors in the city now.
That's true, but Berry straightens up to her full height, which is not very tall, but nonetheless is what she does. And she says, I was retired for many years. I've raised 26 grandchildren. The number does sometimes change. She doesn't really remember. And, but now I have returned to my oath because once a paladin, always a paladin. We must kill the producer.
Also,
Well,
while I'm
okay.
usually in favor of people keeping agreements that they make, in this case, it's well known that making any kind of deal with the infernal never profits you, no matter how good it looks. That's their whole thing.
If my
So selling the actor to them is only going to rebound on you in a variety of
if my
unpleasant
great
ways.
grandma hadn't made deals with demons, I wouldn't be here right now. I mean, that's kind of the tiefling thing, yeah.
I mean, you don't appear to be enjoying yourself. So that seems to prove my point somewhat.
I was enjoying myself before we started all this fighting infernal chickens.
Well, there you
Do-gooding.
go.
Do-gooding, yes. No, nothing ever comes of it.
Yeah.
Two-
Nah.
Two things are happening at this juncture. Just very quickly, Mary Berry, with your natural 20, not only do you notice that there's blood all around the mouth of this cave, there is also distinctly the sound of infernal claws rattling inside. There is almost certainly something waiting inside. The other thing you realise with your nat 20 is that so often the appearance of evil is just a deep cover for unfulfilled wishes and unexpressed vulnerability amongst your peers.
Yeah.
What an insight.
It was a great nat 20. The other thing that's happening is Leonardo, who obviously is still with you at this point, is going, I do say, I'm not sure about this whole giving me to the producer thing. I mean, if only he can enjoy my talent, if only she can enjoy my talent, then don't you feel that the world is just missing out on something wonderful? I mean, my role is to share with as many people as possible on the biggest stages possible. I do hope you won't feed me to the producer.
So at this juncture, Berry just looks at Leonardo and does this.
He does.
She stuffs the remains of the cardigan in his mouth.
Make me a strength athletics attack. Let's see whether he's able to avoid it. He's rolled like
A
this.
16.
He rolled a 4. So and the thing about my it's not that he couldn't take this cardigan out, but something about that look in your eye, Mary. He's just like.
Oh no, now he's mine.
Cage.
That's worse.
I'd just like to point out the best way to share him with as many people as possible is to cut him up into a lot of tiny pieces and spread him over a wide area.
Berry looks like she's contemplating this very seriously.
I'm going to take out a handful of business cards from my pocket that I got off all the actors and a Sharpie and give them to him and ask him to sign them so that later on, when his adoring public turn up, he can have cards to give out, and hopefully that'll keep him busy for a bit.
What if he uses the cards to communicate? We don't want him to do that.
Let's see. He could write down improv suggestions on them, and we might have to pick one at random.
Right, sorry. With my nat 20 perception or whatever I was doing, are those claws coming closer to us, or are they just sort of hanging
They're
out
sort of
inside
hanging
there?
out.
So I think that there is an abyssal creature, or perhaps more than one abyssal creature, protecting the lava pit. So we're going to have to get past them in order to throw the contract into the lava. Any suggestions,
Well,
team?
you're the paladin, so I think you should be
Your
the one to set the example for us.
your little friend can
Good
fly,
point.
yes.
Small can fly, yes.
So if, for example, I'm not saying it will, but if, for example, the area in front of the volcano was suddenly to erupt in a vast fungal tangle of snarling, reaching tendrils, to immobilize anything down there, your little friend could just bob over and drop it in.
Good, yes. She a single blow will kill her though. She's not particularly robust, but she can carry the contract. Yeah.
Also, I suspect
Could we-
carrying the contract would presumably be more to her nature than if one of us did. It being oozing and
Could
so
we
forth.
get?
She's definitely attracted to it. Yeah, she's been making purring sounds.
What about if Jeremy the rat ate the contract and then heroically threw himself into the lava?
You obviously misunderstand the nature of the deep and meaningful partnership between myself and Jeremy. There is most definitely a non-suicidal flinging clause involved in our arrangement. On both parts, he wouldn't ask me to do it for him either.
What if, as an
What about
immortal vampire
pact that he
who's
did it together?
contemplated the darkness of his humanity, you decide to make one last sacrifice for the human you were keeping company with, and decide that you will sacrifice your life for us by throwing
When-
yourself into a lava pit while holding a contract? It'd be very poetic.
Well, it would, but you've only been around me half an hour, and can you imagine that is likely to happen for 1 second? It would ruin my clothes. This is a very expensive velvet jacket.
Well, we can't ruin the velvet jacket. You could take the jacket off.
I think we could definitely let Small carry the contract, and if we reach a point where we're engaged with some abyssal creature, Small can zoom on past us and hopefully fulfill the deal, drop the contract into the volcano. Should we try that?
Not a naked vampire pirate throwing himself bodily into a pit of lava?
No. Definitely not.
Well,
Can you imagine how long it will take me to get off these big piratey boots? It's just it's not possible. We'll be overrun first.